Yep. What's up, everybody? Salutations and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Twitch Johnson. So grab your substance and your drinks, or stay sober minded, if you will. And with that being said, let's start the show. But if you're feeling my vibe, like, share, and subscribe. You can find me at Instagram at TwitchJohnson _ That's TWISTJOHNSON _ You can also find clips of these episodes on Facebook at Talk About It and Instagram, let's _ talk 2025. And with that being said, you know what I like to do, and I know you see this handsome young man inside of the camera with me, but we'll get into him. Let's start with the current events that nobody asked for. Today's story, we got it from Lipstick Alley, and it's a 16-year-old rapper named Little Wardy, and he is engaged to a 26-year-old woman who drops him off to school every morning. A spokesperson from Lipstick Alley reports that they are both in a happy space in their relationship. However, comments from social media differ, and they are tearing at their situation, labeling the 26-year-old a pedophile, and said that she has no home training and that she is molding a minor to be what she would like him to be. You let us know inside the comment section how you feel about that. Is this a real relationship or is this molding? We won't touch too much on it, but we do know in other countries it all depends on when are you ready. But like you could be ready at probably like the ages of 8 to get married. But this is America, right? All right, so that's your current events that nobody asked for. You let us know in the comments how you feel about that. The 16-year-old rapper and the 26-year-old woman dating. With that being said, we got our brother here who's a not life coach, sorry, partnership and life coach and author. And we're going to let him introduce himself, say where he's from and what he does a little bit, and then we'll jump into the show. And he'll do the honors of the pour out or pour up.
Well, thank you. That's funny because you're the information that nobody wanted reminded me of me being a kid and like having it for so many of the teachers that I had in school and stuff like that. That's like every kid's dream.
Right.
Not for the girls, but that's But anyway, But
Yeah,
I
I
get
mean, that's why I did it.
I get why people do that, get all crazy behind it. Hi, everybody. My name is Ray Kopakowski. I am a universal channel and partner coach and like that there. So been doing that for a while. And what are we doing? We're moving on to pour.
Oh, pour out, pour up. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
All right. Well, I'm going to try to help you out here. Go ahead. What?
Hey, let's do it. So,
That's,
you said you wanted to do a pour up?
yes, I did.
All
Yes,
right,
I
who we
did.
pouring up for? Or what are we
All right.
pouring up?
So I was thinking about this, and I really got a big kick out of it. And I started playing around with all these things that I might be able to pour up about. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to pour up about you. I
Me.
wanted to thank you. Yes. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity. And I wanted to thank and all this stuff for you, the people that listen to this and given me the opportunity to get out there. And maybe I can get some of my message out to some people. I think that the message is important. And it's not crazy maker, it's just something that you'll be able to understand. And I hope that my words can help people out. So pour up.
Amen. We're gonna pour out for me. All right.
There
Thank
you
you,
go.
Ray. Let's pour out
Mhm.
for Twitch Johnson. I mean, pour
And
up.
this is a sip up.
Step up.
There you go. That's a
Okay.
sip up.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for our pour up, and thank you for Raymond joining with the sip up. Might bring that in. I don't know. All right.
A new thing.
Raymond, you got a lot of things under your belt. You've lived life. Tell us a little bit about what you've done before we jump into the profession.
Oh boy. Yeah, my life started early. you know. Okay, so I'll give you a quick rundown and anything you want to play around with is fine by me. I was adopted. My mother, I met my mother, she was an alcoholic and she was a lesbian and she hated me and she tried to kill me, and then I was adopted, and at 9 years old I went into show business. I did La Boheme when I was 9 years old for the Lyric Opera Company. I toured. I did Lohengrin at the Metropolitan Opera Company. I danced with the Philadelphia Ballet Company. I toured with Carol Burnett. I did a bunch of different shows as I was growing up. I switched over to rock and roll. I toured for a bunch of time on the road. I was in a warm up band for Miles Davis. I replaced Jim Croce in a band. You getting tired of this yet?
No.
'Cause I'm from Camden, New Jersey. I'm from South Camden, and it was a rough. I don't know. If you know anything about Camden?
Not too much, but we're neighbors. I'm from New York.
You're from New York. Okay. Camden was badass. It was a rough place and stuff. And so I'm one of the people that can attest to the fact that heroin leads to pot. Yeah, I know. I'm
I
just
love it.
giving you a quick rundown, you know. And I think right about that point, you know, when I started to slip away from being in Camden, I started doing LSD. And it was 25 LSD 25. And if you know anything about that, that was pure, and it was not party time back
Mm.
then. This was people getting together, you know, learning how to maybe finding God, mind expansion, and all this stuff. And then a little while later, it got out of hand. But I was in there. I was in there in the very beginning of all this stuff. It really did help me. It really did. It changed my mind about a lot of things. It gave me a different way of thinking. Not that I mean, do what you want. I don't recommend it or tell people to stay away from it, but it was great for me. And then afterwards, I ended up, now today I did a bunch of touring, and I ended up at the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I had smoked a boatload of cocaine, and I should be dead 1,000 times over. And I think that the connection that I have for who I am, as far as me being able to help people, came as a result of being sober at that time, having good people around me, connecting me, and then me ending up sponsoring and talking to a whole lot of people about how do you get your shit together? What do you
Right.
do? And I kept hearing that through that time that I had a gift for listening. I had a gift for caring, and I
Mm.
also had a gift for listening to somebody and being able to twist a little bit what it was that they were thinking, and the problems that they were having, and helping them, instead of like getting into the problems and hanging on to them and beating yourself up. You got a
Mm.
problem, let's change it. And I really do think that that was the precursor to the book, because the book is all about, you screwed up. Okay, so what do we do about it? Don't beat yourself up about it. Let's figure out what to do.
Right. We gearing into the book, but let me just touch a little bit. No, I love music. Doesn't matter what genre. In fact, I just came from a Willie Nelson concert in
No.
Washington. Yes, it was in Washington. It was at the Gorge Stadium. So much love. Everyone is out. I'm pretty sure everyone was on something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we was out there for about 8, 9 hours before he actually showed up. But it was some great performances. It was great music. It's nostalgic for people
Yeah.
who are on the country scene. If you guys don't know who Willie Nelson is, he's a legend. Please look him up. But no, I'm not bored at all. It's always peace.
I
It's always
love
fun.
so I went out, we went to me and my honey went to see the Stones a little while ago, and I felt confident that I could put off seeing Willie Nelson, because I doubt that he will ever die. He's just going to be around forever and ever. But it was a good concert. You enjoyed it?
It was a great concert. Yeah, at 91, I will hope that I'm still performing and doing my craft.
No kidding. I was upset. We went to see the Stones, and at his, what the hell, at the very end of the concert, he runs across the stage. I mean, he didn't, it wasn't a jog. There was no like, walker or anything like that. He ran across the stage, and I was so mad at him. I was like,
Oh
son
my
of a
God.
bitch.
So there you go. I mean, we still touring to go see these artists, so don't
Yeah,
feel bad about that.
that's cool.
I want to say, okay, you touched a little bit about the book. I am going to order this book. The book is called Universal Guide to Healthy Selfish, and you crossed out relationships and
Yeah,
you replaced it with partnership.
yeah.
Tell us about the book and tell us why you came up with this title.
Okay. So a lot of this kind of stuff, I don't know. So I tell people that I'm a universal channel. That came up as a result of a session that I was doing when somebody asked me, instead of saying, "What are you doing?" she said, "What are you?" And I answered universal channel, and it fits. I have no idea. I don't understand it at all, but it makes sense. I channel. And so I get information when I'm doing sessions. I get information, I get guidance, I get pictures. I've got like four guys around me that I call them my generals. I don't see them per se, but I do see energy in those spots. And just about everything in the book, so there you go, just about everything in the book came
Mm-hmm.
from channeling. The book started out several years ago, and when I finished it, it was over 300 pages. And I looked at it, and the message that I got was nobody's going to read it. It's all over the place. Nobody's going to read it. So I tore the book down, and I got it down to a pamphlet size. And from 300 pages, it went down to 28 pages. And I looked at that, and I said, nobody's going to do that either.
Short story.
Yeah. So then I ended up doing it a last time, and 180 pages, and it seemed right, and everything seemed okay with it, and so it went out. How it happened is that I was a relationship counselor. Actually, I started off as a hypnotherapist. I was a hypnotherapist, and I was doing. I used to do sports hypnotherapy and clinical hypnotherapy. So I would be called in for a couple times. This happened. I would be called in to help people out with operations and stuff if they couldn't do anesthetic. So it was serious stuff. But it kept moving me towards wanting to help people more, wanting to not take the credit for helping them, but give them the information they needed to make the changes that they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, for a long time, I was working with people as a relationship coach. And this is the issue. Sorry about that. This is the issue. This is the issue that I have with relationships. This is what happened. For years, people were coming to me, and everybody that came to me was in their late 30s, early 40s, and above. And everybody, without exception, wanted to learn how to fix what they did. They wanted to learn the tools about what do we do to get over something? How do you get through something? How do you get over something? And it got annoying to me after a while, and I didn't really know why, but it would piss me off, and I would be like, come on, man, somebody, what's missing here? And then it hit. Then it was like, the problem here is not is that you don't even know. It doesn't even occur to you to ask somebody, how do we avoid hurting each other? How do we do that? And I kept saying, people are trained to know that relationships are hard. People are trained to know that you're always going to fight, and you're always going to have to get over it, and you're going to have to do all these kinds of jumping through hoops and everything like that, because well, women are crazy and men are shut down and all the kinds of things that we think, that are actually happening. But all that stuff is bullshit. It's not the truth. It is just that we haven't gotten any further with it. So I started to formulate this idea about partnership. And I recognized that in a business, in any kind of business that you have, if me and you we're running a store. We got a grocery store or something like that. You came to me, I have a grocery store, and you came to me and you said, I want to be partners. I wouldn't just say, hey, you're a nice guy and everything, let's be partners. I would say, Twist, what are you doing? What do you got? What are you bringing to this kind of thing? How can we become partners? You could say, hey, listen, your store looks good, but I can do social media like you wouldn't believe. I'm very good at that kind of stuff. I would think
Right.
that's valuable. And then we would become partners. But what we would do on a regular basis is meet with each other, know what my strengths and your strengths are, know what our weaknesses are, so that we can come together and then build a partnership so that we're successful. So we don't end up, buying the wrong stuff or buying too much of this stuff, shutting the doors too soon. We talk about all this stuff together. That's what's missing in relationships.
Mm.
People in relationships don't understand the power of having somebody there to understand what it is, the values that they have, and what they bring in their experiences and negativity.
Mm.
Negativity, to understand negativity is like people think that negativity is bad. I don't. I think negativity is great. When things are really bad, things are really shitty, you get an opportunity to work together to fix them, not to sit back and say this was bad, this was really bad. You were treating each other badly, all the way down to infidelity. There was a period of time, and I think that this was a setup. There was a period several years ago that that Janet asked me, my honey, she's like, "How are things?" And I said, it's odd, but I've got I'd say about 70% of the people I'm working with are dealing with infidelity of some sort, whatever their description was. I mean, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's talking to somebody. They consider that infidelity, talking to somebody online or something, and being sneaky about it. So it
Mm.
qualifies. Who the hell knows? But
No, no,
were you going to ask me something, or keep going?
no,
Okay, all right. So I was thinking, what the hell is this about infidelity that's being shown to me? And I recognized that we always go to the person that was cheated on. Oh, poor baby, you were cheated on, and all this kind of stuff. And then what are you going to do? And how terrible it is, and everything. And that's what everybody does. Person that gets cheated on is that one. A lot of times, the person that did the cheating has been suffering for a much longer time than the person that got cheated on. They're alone, they're feeling disconnected, they don't, they're insecure, all these kinds of things that people bring to those kinds of things that makes them want somebody else to give them something that they're not getting. Somebody talked to me the other day and they made me feel good, and they listened to what I was going to say, and I don't get that at home. That's very appealing, and people would do that. So what do
I
you
think
do
that's
about it?
very that's an interesting take on it. I think that people are always focused on the person that the cheating had happened to in the relationship, where they neglect to look at the cheater and what the undermining reasons of the person is. So that's a good take to actually look at. I think people look at the problem instead of the person, and people forget that the person may have had an underlying trauma. You got neglect, abandonment issues, you got
Yeah.
problems that they didn't work on, which is not the person's issues coming into the situation. It's healthy that you guys have those conversations and let them know. But as I think, as anyone who's been through like traumas and stuff, it's a little tough to show vulnerability in the beginning.
You're absolutely right. People have got to take that kind of stuff into consideration. Let's back up and go to our grocery store. So if I'm smart about the grocery store, I'm going to say, Twist, what's your past experiences? Anything bad ever happened to you? Why are you not working right now? What's going on here? And you would give me some kind of synopsis of what it is that had happened before. Maybe there was some things that you were involved in a business before and you got cheated out of some money, or somebody took you for something, like that. That would be very important for me to know, so that I can reassure you about those things, and that we can have some kind of dialogue about that shows you I'm upright, man. I'm not going to do that kind of thing,
I think the grocery list is a good analysis because at least when you walking down the aisles with someone, for example, you can actually say, "Hey, like I like mustard." You both probably like mustard, but I might not like the brand that you like. So it can be to where's that like maybe we can find something that we like together, or we're going to the bread, and like I don't like that. I don't want to stay. Instead of looking at it like, all, being dismissive, feeling like there's a problem, you want to ask, like, hey, what was your experience with bread that, like, you're kind of resistant to
Sure.
wanting to put it in the cart? So I think that's a great analysis, like having that grocery list, going through the list, figuring out like what can work for us and not
Mhm.
getting stuck on what didn't work before. I believe it goes from what do you say, preference versus um like experience. And I think that like people get the two misconstrued, especially in relationships, because of people's experience, people get the preference mixed up. I think
Uh,
preference comes from is like, okay, I don't want to do this is not something that works for me. But the wording, I guess, is something that I don't want, versus the experience, if it's a good one, is to where the preference is, I would like to see this in this relationship, this marriage, where the experience, if it's sour, then it's like, I don't want this. And I
uh,
think that they forget. And yeah, preference and experience definitely connects, but it definitely has its own territories. Do you agree?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're missing a little point here, and the point is really what the whole thing is here is why is this important to me? Why is walking down an aisle important to me? Looking at bread, why is that important to me? And that would be because of you. That would
Mm.
be because understand who you are. I have value for you, and we're going to be a partner together. So what we're going to do is we're going to be partners before we go to the store. We're going to know what each other wants and how to talk to each other before we do anything like that. And the whole idea about this stuff is to learn how to be partners first. Everything else is second. So another way of looking at this thing, one a big thing that comes up with men, especially younger men who are in relationships with kids. So a wife has got a kid, and we miss a big point. This screws men over really badly and stuff like that. But and trust me, I could talk about this kind of stuff, but I really mean it. That nobody's at fault because nobody knows any better. All right, women have been taught from birth that their priority is going to be that child. They're going to be a mother, and they're going to someday they're going to be a mother, and their priority is going to be taking care of that baby. And what happens is that quite often what happens the child is their priority, which puts the man in a place where he's second or third or fourth or something like that. He's got to be out there taking care of the house and doing all the stuff that men are supposed to be doing. But when it comes time to be inside the family, the baby's first. And that's what she was taught. Men are taught the same thing. Men are taught that she's going to, you got a baby, she's got to take care of the baby. We missed the point there. What we're supposed to do is me and this woman are supposed to be partners, and then she takes care of the baby. Then we decide that priority is the child. We decide that we love each other and we care about each other and we are important together and we have a child. And I'm included in on that. I don't end up feeling second or third or someplace down the line. I feel connected to this woman that I love. I met her. I'm attracted to her. I fell in love with her. I married her. And now I'm in third place because it's a relationship? I don't think so. That we got to start looking at that kind of stuff and say, let's be partners first, then we'll have our priorities. I work with a lot of surgeons for some odd reason. Surgeons, these guys here spend years studying, focusing, all this kind of stuff. And the one thing that they can't afford to do is they can't afford to be wrong because
Mm.
they're fixing people, they're healing people. Their whole idea about sharing things or being partners with somebody, it's a very difficult place for them. Odd how many I've worked with. Strange thing. But if I can tell them before you go into that surgical theater, make sure you're a partner. Make
Mm.
sure that you know that the reason that you're doing this is because one day you're not going to be able to do this anymore. And so you'll be connected to this woman and your kids and all that kind of thing. And you want that to be healthy. But you don't have to go into surgery feeling alone. You could
That
feel
part.
connect. You could feel connected to somebody. You could feel like they have your back, like anything that happens, you're not alone in this. You're sharing all this kind of stuff. And that'll take some of the heat off of you, and make you feel better. The better you feel, the more you're going to be able to do your job, you know?
Amen.
So I just found that interesting too.
I found it all interesting, and I think that like in society now, people spin the narrative of the terminology of what partner means. Like some
Hmm.
people, they look at when you say your partner, they looking more like well, is it the same sex? Because of just respecting the LGBTQA plus
Sure.
community. People are privy to saying relationships, but I definitely do agree. I think partnership definitely changes the mindset to where anyone can have a relationship. I have a relationship with the grocery store clerk. I have a
Yeah.
relationship with you right now. I have a
Yeah.
relationship with my dog, but I feel like a partnership gives equality and it puts you guys both on the same page. It's not looking like you're more superior than I am, I'm more superior than you. We can agree to disagree. We can have healthy conversations of how we can strengthen our domain and the dynamics of this partnership. I
Yeah.
wanna I wanna jump into some questions so we can help some people out there.
Love it.
I'm just gonna wing a lot of it. We're gonna shoot the
Go.
gift and out there.
Go.
Let's get ready, buckle up, because we're gonna ask some questions from Raymond, and he's
All
gonna
right.
give us some information. Okay. The
Okay.
first thing I do want to line up with is the question that I did see on your resume, and it stood out, and I think everyone should listen to this. Everything you should know about relationships is wrong.
Mhm.
Okay, so tell us what did we get wrong about them?
About them. Okay, so relationships, the way that we have relationships right now has come from forever. When we first started having relationships and started to be able to talk about it, the man was the man and he did what he did, and the woman was the woman and she did what she did, and there really was, there may have been some kind of love and caring for each other to really benefit from each other. It didn't exist. Our families, when you think about your family, most people that talk to me about what their family was like, occasionally you would hear that they were, my mother and father, they're still together and all this kind of stuff. With my knowledge about that, that means that they have learned how to tolerate each other. They've learned how to handle things, they've learned how to get over things. People sweep things under the rug for the sake of the marriage, for the sake of the children. It's terrible to do that. If you don't sweep it under the rug and you have to deal with it, then you get to deal with it with somebody else. You get to deal with it with your person, and then you get to be close. In order to do that, you have to recognize the differences between men and women, how it works together. And that's very important. And I know that we don't do that, not at least not very well. We're taught terrible things about women, awful things about women, how crazy they are, how they never let anything go, how you can't win an argument with them. But if you look at those traits that women bring to you, understand how the value of those kinds of things. Man, women become incredible. They are fantastic partners, but you have to be able to know, be willing to listen, and be willing to try and talk and open up that dialogue. And the reason that you would do any of that kind of stuff, and this is where the selfish part comes in, the reason you would do any of that stuff is that it benefits you. So let me tell you, and I have a beautiful woman. My Jen is extraordinary. I love her to death. And she came to me when the book was done. I was finished, I'm a guy, so that means that I fix things. I put them together and I end them. She came to me and she said, I want to read it before you send it in again. And I was like, damn, man, okay, all right, because that's what guys do, that's what we do. And I said, yeah, all right, go ahead and read it. Twist. She was 5 pages into it before she came to me and said, did you mean to say this? Is this what you were thinking about? Is this what you're talking about? And
Mhm.
I looked at that and she was right. You know, she was right. She looked at every one of those things, and I said, all right, great, man. Then we're going to change that. And the reason that we're going to do that is because she is a woman and she sees things differently than I do. She doesn't want to get it done. She doesn't want to get it out and in the street. She wants it to be right. You
Mm.
know, she wants it to be complete and to be right. If you notice, a lot of times with women, it's like they don't really want power. They just want things. They just want to know that they're important. They want to know that they're loved. They want to know that they're cared for, and to be part of a partnership. You know, let me see a second here. So I wrote this. It's one of my postcards. That's my pretty cool,
Okay,
huh?
that's different. I like that.
That's cool. Yeah, a friend of mine did that. All right. So it says the benefits of partnership. When you offer her a place at the table, she will bring her gifts.
Mm.
Isn't that
I
cool?
love that. That is cool.
That's
That
cool.
is cool. And then speaking of what you were saying with the lovely girl, it's like you guys are both lucky. Encouragement, motivation, or pushing. Since you were talking about the book, it just resonated the question. When should you lay off your partner about something that you may feel that is beneficial to yourself or your relationship? And I'm talking about as, let's say that you got a career opportunity, you might have brought it up, or maybe they've brought it up, or maybe you want to write a book, or maybe maybe you're thinking about traveling somewhere, and it's a thought and it can be a reality. When do you lay off someone about encouraging them to do it if they're kind of resistant to it at this point, like, yeah, I don't want to do it, but they're
Okay.
still insisting? Like, how does that look?
Okay, I got you. I got you now.
Okay.
So if somebody says that they wanted to do something, or they came up with an idea, and tell me if I'm right about your question here,
Yeah.
but they came up with an idea, something that they wanted to do, and you're trying to back them, and they don't, and then all of a sudden it's not really something that they want to do, or they're stepping away from it. Yeah, is that it? All right.
Yeah, or something that you came up with together, or either one. But it's just like now someone's kind of like on the lines of, I don't want to. Yes, but you were right on the ballpark.
All right. So I deal with that. I deal with that a lot in communication. People say, and women say this all the time. He'll never communicate with me. He doesn't talk to me. He doesn't communicate with me. I said, yeah, you know something. Does he love you? And yeah, he loves me. I said, does he want to be with you? Yeah, he wants to be with you. Okay. So if he loves you and he wants to be with you, then there's something behind the reason that he's not able to communicate. It's not that he doesn't know how to talk, it's that something is stopping him. If you force a person to communicate, you won't find out what was stopping him. Maybe what was stopping him is that afraid to say the wrong thing, getting in trouble, talking about something, feeling like an insecurity somewhere, or something happened a long time. There's something that stops a person from doing something that initially was good. They had time to think about it. They had time to look at it. What you do is say, okay, so I'm not going to worry about communicating anymore. What I'm going to do is set up a safe place for you, to set up a safe place, and we're going to be able to try and set it up so that you can talk to me about anything. A lot of times men shut down in communication because women will just talk right over them. Or we talked about this 10 times already, it's the same thing, so a guy shuts down. But that means that whatever problem a woman had behind whatever she's asking for, that wasn't fixed either. So you always got to look at what's going on behind the scenes. The issues, whatever the issues are never the problem. The issues always point to the problem. The problem is how we treat each other. How are we able to communicate? How are we able to talk to each other? That's where the problems are. The issues come and go, but that remains the same.
Right, like I agree. Like when I was thinking about the questions, just like anybody who's been in relationships and has a partner, when you come up with these ideas or someone has a goal as your partner, you want to support them, and you also might become interested inside of this ordeal as well.
Yeah.
So when it's time to revisit it, you're like, hey, remember that we came up with this idea, or hey, you said you want this idea, what happened to it? And it's like you said, maybe you sat on it for a little bit, and maybe you just wasn't as enthused as you once were. And as a partner, you want to be that person that motivates and give that encouragement. But it's to where is that if someone is asking you to back off, they're explaining to you the reasons that they may have lost interest, whatever the situation is. I
Mhm.
think that it becomes pushy when the person is asking you to lay off them, but you're thinking you're encouraging, but you're actually pushing them to become isolated and want
Yeah,
to like deviate from the situation. And then the
sure.
argument can start.
So, this is all stuff that we learn. We're learning
Mhm.
about how to do this kind of thing, and how to honor somebody, and it's hard to be aware of so much stuff when we've been taught for so long to do it a different way.
Mhm.
It's just not that easy to do. I could tell people all day long that this is what you need to do, but the
Mhm.
second that it starts to happen, all the feelings come running into place, and the old experiences and the old fears and all that kind of stuff comes running in. And so you got to sit back and say, well, we screwed the pooch on that one. Let's relax a little bit,
Right.
and then we'll try and revisit it at another time. If you're going to give something up, so I'm talking to my partner now, if you're going to give something up, let's make sure that you're doing it for a healthy reason, and not because
Mhm.
you're afraid. Because if you're afraid, then we'll talk about how can I help you with this? How can I have your back so you won't be afraid? Because I believe that you would succeed in this thing. But if you say, something, I really did think about that, and I'm going to wait for something else to happen. Okay, that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
You hit something on the money. When you and your person, you guys got some lift in, you guys went through the honeymoon phases. Okay, so now you to get into what your routines might look like. Let's just say that your partner is saying that, hey, I dislike this, or hey, this doesn't work for me in this relationship. Like, what should that conversation piece look like for you and your partner? And what should both parties be prepared to do? And I'm talking about how you socialize, how often you go out, how you interact with family and friends. A good example, you might have, this thing that you've been doing for years where you have like Wing Wednesdays.
Hmm.
And your partner might be feeling like, hey, I saw, but Wednesdays is a day that I'm actually off work, and I kind of would like to have that one-to-one interaction. So, can you kind of like, what kind of conversation would that look like,
Yeah.
and what action?
Yeah, well, that see, here you go. The issue is what you're talking to me about. What's behind the issue is something else. So if we're doing something all the time on a regular basis and things are getting mundane, and we don't want to talk about that kind of thing, it might be a thing of I need to do something to spice things up, and not necessarily in a sexual way, but that's fine too. You want to be able to, maybe that is an excuse to say we're doing this all the time, and I still need to feel close. I still need to feel something from you.
I
Maybe it's
think
a
the question is more external. It's not anything that you guys do. It's stuff that you do. They might feel like it's not beneficial to what you guys have going on.
uh
So they're probably saying, I don't want you to go out to Wing Wednesday with your friends on this Wednesday anymore. I
yeah.
want you to probably have that space for me.
Oh,
So
I get you.
yeah, I'm thinking like, what would you do in those situations?
See,
In relationships, we all have things that we came into the relationship with, and we didn't say nothing in the beginning. Now we're like, hey, I don't like that. I want to, I kind of want that look to look different.
gotcha.
So, what are some healthy conversations you and your partner should have?
See,
What should both parties do?
okay. The thing about that is that as partners, my knowledge of you and what it is that you need is very important for me to have. If you are going out and you're having a time at, you go to a bar with some guys and you hang out and stuff like that, then that may trigger something that says, do you not want to be with me? I got this time. You don't like me or something. That kind of thing has got to be addressed. You would have to look at your going to the bar and you would say, she needs something that is deeper than this. And we got to find out what that is and pay extra attention, or I pay a lot of attention, or we talk about this kind of stuff so that we know that we're secure. We know that we love each other. And if she really does need something, absolutely, I'm going to give that. I'm going to give that to her. Her job is to say, once she starts getting the things that she needs, once it has been brought to attention that she needs a little bit of extra something and that's being attended to, as a good partner, what she should be able to do is say, hey, you haven't been going to this bar lately. You haven't been doing these things. I know that you like them. I know that you enjoy them, and I'm okay. You've made me feel good. You've made me feel secure and all that stuff. So I don't mind you going out and doing that kind of thing. That is something that is good for you. And when you get it, you feel better about it. I trust you. You trust me that you can go ahead, that I've got your back. There's a lot of good things right there. That's a good question.
I
Mhm.
love that. I mean, all right, yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you caught that, please keep that on repeat. I think just off of what you're saying, from what I'm getting from it is to be intentional and attentive to your partner's needs. I think a situation like that would be more of a want. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is that it doesn't mean that it has to go away in all. It just has to look different because you guys are partners now.
Huh.
So going back to that idea of that Wednesday, you can say like, "Hey, um, I would like for us to be able to do something on those Wednesdays. You always seem you have that going on. How can we make that work to where it looks different?" I think just for getting what you're saying, if you are asking someone to make an adjustment or have that availability for you, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I think you should also, for both sides, have something to fill that void, fill that space. If you're
Sure.
asking someone to change or adjust like something that they've been doing prior to you guys' arrangement, it's also to where you don't just have it as an empty space. You have to insert something to replace what you're asking to be replaced.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm
No, no,
on it
no,
or not.
that's pretty good. So you back up a little bit. The reason that you're doing anything is because you want to be happy. Everybody,
Absolutely.
everybody wants to be happy. Now, so if you want to be happy, that's nice. You can be happy. But if you want to be happy with someone, you have a responsibility there to make sure that you do the things that are necessary so that person comes back to you with the things that you need so that you can get your happy. So I want to make sure that my honey gets she knows that I'll listen to her. She knows that I care about her. We've worked at trusting each other. We've built a different kind of trust. We got all this kind of stuff and everything. And then she is, if she's happy, then you know what? She's not a pain in the ass.
Happy wife, happy life.
Well, but it's but, but it's
Or
even
yeah,
it's even deeper than that. Take that a
yes.
little bit. Happy wife, happy life for me. I get to
Mhm.
have a happy life because I found out what I need to do to give my partner what she needs to make her feel loved and cared for. Then, like I said, and then she's a joy to be around. She's not coming up to me and wondering about, if I like her, if I want to spend time with her, if I care about her, if I, she's not worried about any of that kind of stuff because that gets in the way of us talking about other stuff. I want her to
Mhm.
be healthy, and she wants me to be healthy. So
Mhm.
it's a partnership. So both people are working, and that's the difference between relationships and partnerships is in partnership, you change your focus onto each other. It's not about
Mhm.
relationships. It's not about me talking to you so you understand what I want and all that shit. It's about me listening to you and finding out what you need so we can be good partners.
right? And I feel like just revisiting just a little bit touch on it is that like the routines that you've had in a relationship, a partnership, those routines need to be revisited and seeing how it could work for both of you so
Sure.
you can have a happy significant other. It's not like you're gonna let them go, but it's to where, like you said earlier, is that like, you know what, you've done so much for me. You don't say no a lot. We actually are like, reflecting on each other. Why don't you go to that bar? Or hey, why don't you,
Yeah.
make it to where that book club, you bring that back, because now we have a partnership. We understand our foundation, so now we can start to revisit old neighborhoods again. You
Yeah.
touched on something when you said listening, and you said trusting the conversations. So it leads me into hard conversations. A lot of people, we avoid them. We don't like to have them. What is your take on, like, how should you prepare to have a hard conversation, and how should you show up to that conversation? What should you not do going into a hard conversation?
Uh, hard hard conversation is going to be your interpretation of the outcome that's going to happen. You already determined that something bad could possibly happen from here. I think the important thing is that you always have to have those kinds of things, but you have them less in a partnership, because in a partnership you're talking about things on a regular basis, things that are happening on a regular basis. You are deciding how to handle those things. I'm not entirely sure what a hard conversation would be outside of I think I don't love you anymore or something like that. I don't know what would entail to be there, but even at that, it's uh, that would come as a result of a miscommunication or something happening within that relationship that you build as partners. Um, hmm. So
I
so
mean, I would think like hard conversations, like just from like the experience that I've had, it might be to where you're not sure how this person might take this information, or you might want to communicate something that might come off as like insensitive or so. Maybe you guys just been avoiding a conversation because maybe you guys are out of that phase, and to where it's like you having the struggles trying to figure out how finances look like between you guys, like who's taking the kids to the schools, or like how you guys going to plan families, like. So I feel like as broad, everyone's hard conversations are looking different.
yeah,
I know some people avoid confrontation, other people lean into it. So it's
yeah,
no right or wrong. I feel like there's no
yeah.
right or wrong way to
Okay.
approach the hard
All
conversation.
right. If somebody came to me in a session and started asking those kinds of questions, I would initially tell them my knee jerk to answer to that is that you sit down and you say, we're trying to become partners, right? Yeah, we're trying to
Right.
become partners. Okay, so if we're trying to become partners and that's the focus is to protect the partnership, because you say you love me and you say you want to be partners and I do the same to you, then we have an issue here that we have to lay out. We have to take a look at it, and then what happens there is that the problems that you were talking about, that what you're going to say, a person would have a maybe they would be afraid of what you're talking about. Maybe they would misconstrue what it is that you're about to say or something like that.
Mhm.
But if you put the partnership first thing I want to do before we say anything, tell me you love me. Before we even start to talk about this stuff, tell me you want to be with me, and then we'll approach this issue from that standpoint. So a person goes into it knowing what it is that you want. You're after
Okay.
some clarity about this issue, or you want to get something off your chest or something like that. But you're telling them, and this happens on the other side of this with people that are abusive and aggressive with each other. It's always a situation to remind people of what their intention was. You remind them of what their intention was. So you're going to say to somebody, listen, if you're going to talk to me that way, tell me how it's going to help us. You
Right.
Tell me how it's going to help us. And if you're going to be yelling and screaming at me, tell me how it's going to help us. And then I'll consider letting you do it. If it's going to benefit us, then go ahead and do it. But if it isn't going to benefit us, or you can't figure out how to do it in a loving way, I don't want to hear it.
Like I was told, shown by studies that like sometimes, depending on the personality, when you guys are about to enter, like maybe having a hard conversation, you want to enter without the "I love yous" or "I know," I don't mean this in any way, because that kind of throws a disclaimer, like you're about to drop a load
Yeah,
of some crazy shit, crazy
yeah,
information on me. So that's why,
absolutely.
like, that was interesting.
Absolutely. And inside a relationship, when you tell somebody, I really love you and do all that kind of stuff inside a relationship, you're right. It's manipulative. Inside a partnership, it's reminding us that we've got an agreement here that we're working at. We're partners, right? We're partners first, and then all this other stuff comes way down the line. We're going to fix this thing like we fixed everything else, like we deal with everything else. We're going to do all that kind of stuff because we're partners first.
Okay, I got two last questions and we can wrap up. Check-in, marriage and long-term relationships. Check-ins, I know you know about it, but for those people out there in the audience, if you're not familiar with what a check-in is, it's basically a system that couples put together to interact with each other and just see how the performance is going. Maybe they may address finances at that moment, address what's looking different, what might change, implement some new things that you might want to add to the relationship, discuss some things that might be hard to
Mhm.
discuss. And I think some people, they utilize it in marriages to talk about the conversations that they don't want to talk about daily, so they don't cause unnecessary turmoil, so they kind of leave it. So just to give you audience a paint of what a check-in looks like. All right, Raymond, so check-ins, is it healthy for relationships in marriages to have check-ins, and how often should you have check-ins, and what should check-ins look like when you guys are having these conversations?
Well, like you see, understand that the concept of being in a partnership is very businesslike. It is based on running a business, and then that business happens to be, our business happens to be a relationship that we're building together. So in the very beginning, check-ins ought to be often. They ought to be often, but they have to be done in a very clinical kind of mental setting. You want to say, okay, so we need to talk about this, but we cannot bring emotion to it. This has got to be very clear about what it is that we're doing, because the emotions have set it up so that we have to talk about something. The emotions create a situation that we need to address somehow. And so we're going to go, okay, so we're having a problem here. We're having a problem. It's getting angry. We're getting nasty, and we don't know what the hell to do. We understand that we have this problem. So we don't have to talk about the problem because we know we have the problem. What we need to do is talk about the solution. We need to sit down and go, okay, you've been spending a lot of time talking to your mother lately, and she's getting in the way, and she's doing all this kind of stuff, and it's upsetting, and it's all this kind of, it's bringing out all this emotion, and all this shit is rising up because you're doing it. That is emotion. To
Okay.
sit down and say, we need to talk about this, and I need to know what it is that you're getting. My perception is that you're taking everything to your mother. What is actually happening here, so that we can discuss this and we can formulate some kind of idea about how to attend to this kind of thing. Are you talking to your mother so you don't talk to me?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, right.
Did I hit
Like,
a nerve? Did I hit a
I
nerve?
would say I've tried. It's so crazy that you say that. Is that like So when I was trying to do studies on like long term like relationships and how to have healthy conversations, check-ins was one that was like recommended,
Yeah.
and um so from what I was learning from it and like just talking to other professionals like the coaches of relationships, they were saying you have to set rules as far as like what it looks like when you guys are not in the check-in realm, as far as how would a disagreement look like, how would a um the disconnect in communication look,
Yeah.
and like you can address things at those moments but leave a lot of it to where it's that like you could sit down, process it, reflect it, and bring it up in the check-ins.
Uh-huh.
So like examples of talking to a family member or a friend that you vent to, that can be something you can bring up during the check-in. But I also was leaning into learning that check-ins sometimes, and you hit it on the money. I think that like that I would take that information. I want somebody else out there to take the information, is showing up emotionally.
Yeah.
I think that people get the check-ins misconstrued and use the check-ins to hold ammunition. Like, oh yes, I'm going to say this when we sit down and have the conversation and push an agenda. But from what you're saying, from other professionals in education, the check-in is to create a space where you guys could have tough conversations,
Mhm.
or talk about things that you might not have the opportunity to talk to in your regular itinerary for work, kids, or whatsoever. And this is a space where you guys get things off your chest for the sake of the relationship, to strengthen it,
Yeah.
not try to push your agenda, if I'm understanding that.
You're absolutely right. The idea about this thing is that the most important thing is the health of the partnership. What you're bringing to it is like, we got to look at that, but we can even look at that from a distance. You can say, well, how would that look like for other people or whatever? How do we learn from that and recognize that anything at all that is negative is an opportunity? That's an opportunity. It is absolutely never to stay negative. So if you come into a boardroom, into your boardroom, and the two of you are going to talk about business, and you start to bitch and yell and scream and everything, nothing's going to get
Hmm.
done. Because the problem is that the yelling and screaming should have been done before you sat down and talked about things. Yeah.
Amen. Yep.
Okay.
Y'all hear that?
Well, now, okay. So,
Hmm.
we're really at odds with each other. Are you calm enough to talk about this? What are we going to do about
Right.
this? I know I
Right. I
hurt.
think
I know I hurt you.
because
Do you think I meant to?
Right. I think that like some healthy tools just offer practice, and like talking to couples and like people who are married couples who practice it would be, if it helps someone out there, is to make sure that you guys set the rule to where what Raymond is saying, the emotional part, no arguing. If
Uh-huh.
you guys feel like it's getting heated, voice it and be able to take that minute to be like, hey, I'm getting a little bit upset about what you just said. Okay, that is offensive to me right now. Let's take a break and
Yeah.
let's get back out. I'm back into it, because I think the check-ins is to what's the word I want to use? Is to address the problem but look for a solution. And I think with them check-ins, that not all the time you guys are going to leave feeling satisfied or fulfilled,
Yeah.
but it's to where you take the information that you guys spoke about during the check-in, and you guys process it on your own, and it should become some sort of an action, so the next time you guys check in, you can guys could see like, okay, what changed about this situation, or has it been addressed, and if not, do we have to revisit it? Now getting off the check-ins, before we close into that, so I could ask you the ultimate question that I would love for you to answer.
Okay.
What after you said in the beginning, because it's more like a business, that the check-ins should be often. But after that, if we're looking at it in the business one, the micromanagement should be done after a few months. And now you guys are probably a year, 2, 3 years in, or 2015. How often should you have those check-ins then? Should it be a month? Should it be like every 6 months, or as needed?
After a period of time, it's sitting on the sofa and looking at each other and going, "You got anything? You okay? What's anything been going on?" Because, you know, the part of the check-ins in the beginning is to learn how to build trust, is to watch the other person want to engage with you, seeing that other person, that this is important to that other person, that they want to be here, they want to be with you, they want to protect the partnership, and that's how you build trust. trust in the normal sense, when people get together and they trust each other, is bullshit.
Right.
There's no basis for it. People do that for their own comfort. But when you work together, when you see the other person say, hang on a second, we need to work this out, or this is important to me, or you see them thinking about things and coming back and talking to you about this kind of stuff, you get the idea that eventually that this person is very serious about the partnership, because they want it for themselves, they want to be happy, and they want you. And when you start to recognize those kinds of things, then you recognize the person's intentions. Even if a person screws up, the screw up was bad, but the intention, that the intention was not to risk the partnership. And
Hmm.
that's where trust comes in.
And
And,
I love that. So do
yeah.
you guys, ladies and gentlemen, I have that. If you guys are practicing check-ins, as you can see, they are very healthy. If you're not, maybe it's something you guys should practice. It won't be for everyone, but I
Mhm.
think everyone should try to have some sort of check-in with their partner
There you
just to
go.
see where the relationship is going.
Uh,
Thank you for that,
yeah,
help, Raymond. So
yeah,
my last question for you,
yeah.
that everyone keep your ears open because we're gonna hear it, is you had a highlight of should you stay in your relationship. Okay, so what reasons should you stay and what are reasons you should leave?
Um, so the easiest way to recognize that, if somebody says that they don't want to be your partner, that's not something that they're interested in. I don't care how much you love somebody. If they decide that they don't want to be a partner, then you're not going to get what you need, so you let them go. If you're in a relationship and and you have that dialogue, you have a good dialogue with them, and they say, something, I don't know what's going on. I don't love you. I can't help it. I don't want to be your partner anymore. Then immediately the idea is you're not in a partnership for them. You're in a partnership for yourself.
Mm.
And so you would let somebody go. If there's so many things about that you recognize that a person's not being honest with you, they're not engaging in a healthy way, and you have asked them several times, for that. I need, this is something that I need. I need this communication. I need for you, to work at this partnership, and they're not doing it. Then you have to let them go. The whole thing about I want to be happy is that if I ain't going to get it with you, I don't care how much I love you. It make a damn bit of difference how much I love you. I'll get over that. But if you're not going to, to be a good partner with me, then there's nothing to leave.
Right.
There's just
That- that-
nothing to leave. So I don't see that happens very often, because I do see it, and
yes.
when in my sessions, I have no problem breaking people up. I have none whatsoever. If they're not going to listen to each other, if they're going to keep coming and attacking the same way, if they're not going to learn that they have an issue in this, and that's a big part of it. When you get two
Yes.
people together and they say, "I'm not at fault, it's you," and I
Mm-hmm.
can't and I can't get them to turn around and
Finger
say,
pointing. Right.
yeah, yeah, then you better run for the hills, pal, because it ain't going to get better.
Yes,
You
yes.
know.
I for myself, like just now that I'm a little bit older and I have a little bit more experience dating
Mhm.
and being in long term relationships, I learned that like there's definitely it looks different when you guys are looking at it in a partnership rather than a relationship or companionship.
Yeah.
And when it comes into and it's easier said than done, but as I get older, like I'm learning the skill of it, and no breakup is going to be something that you're gonna love.
No.
Like no one likes to break someone's heart, but you have more days behind you than in front of you.
Uh-huh.
So the idea that I've gotten into is to learn to say thank you and just understanding where your investment might not be going into the direction. If you guys don't have the same goals or the same ambitions that align, you have to be okay with sitting down and understanding that you do love each other. It's just that you guys are not like aligning with where you're trying to go, and be okay
Right.
with saying, hey, this is not working for me.
Yeah.
I think before I let you jump in, I think the reason why I'm like saying it is resonating to speak on is because I feel like people, it's hard for people to break up partnerships for the simple fact that people get into these relationships and there's a need rather than just a want.
Yeah.
So like if someone's
Boy.
saying, hey, I think that this is not working out, and I kind of just want to like try other options, but someone is like, oh, now they're stagnated and thinking like, okay, they might have cheated, they might have stepped out, or they're just not meeting the person's basic needs. But now it's clicking to where it's, wait, I don't have anywhere to go. All of my money is invested in me and you. I kind of just moved across the coast, whatever it could be. So now there's a need to why you need to stay rather than working on your relationship so you guys could grow. What do you
Yeah.
think about situations like that?
Oh, those are very rough, but
I mean, too.
something. My happiness is more important than money, more important than anything, And if I ain't going to get it, then what the hell's the sense, And
Right.
but I do understand that people together. It happens quite often, In my line, I've watched them talking to each other, and I know that the hidden agenda is that they're stuck. They're stuck.
Yes.
They're stuck with each other, and they don't know what the hell to do about it. And
Hmm.
so my job at that point is to help point out things that may turn the tide for them. You got together for these different reasons, and you didn't know how to benefit from those things. So you let them fester, you let problems fester, and now you're stuck together. If
Right.
I can get people to go back and say, well, what was it like in the first place? And you were attracted to each other, you liked the communication. So something broke down that you did not know how to fix, because
Hmm.
hey, Twist, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, wonder how I can hurt her today.
Mm.
Nobody does that. But a
Right.
lot of times you wouldn't know that they didn't do that, because they don't know how to act. They don't know how to treat each other. They got so much bullshit in the way that this is what they end up doing, and it's a
Right.
sad state of affairs. And all people really needed to have is some tools to be able to instead of me being hurt all the time and go, you hurt me and everything. So what did I do? Is there something that I did, anything that I can do so you won't hurt me again? What do you need?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I feel that with like just the question that is it like when should you leave a relationship? I think that's the key element of all of it. If there's more of a need than wants, if you need someone,
Yeah.
and like I mean desperately is like you need them, like they're your line of finances. They
Yeah.
they basically take care of everything. Like they have the occupation. If there's a need there, you have to understand that like even in arguments, like there's going to be some type of hesitation for you to speak, for
Yeah.
the simple fact that you're like, if I say anything wrong, there's a chance that they might leave me, and what am I gonna do? You don't want to get into situations to where it's not a partnership to where you feel like you can't stand your ground
Yeah.
when there's things that you want to speak on, because if there's a need there and the person is feeling like, hey, this is kind of not working out, but I want to be friends. You become the person of now the opportunist side kicks in, and you like, oh, you're panicking, trying to figure out ways to make all these promises that you're not going to deliver because you're not emotionally invested.
Yeah.
The situation of when they say um like the
Uh-huh.
deposits in a relationship, eventually people want to see that investment kick back.
Yeah.
And I feel just like what you said, you've witnessed this so many times with people. They don't even really like each other. In fact, they probably don't even love each other. They love what the person can do for them.
Uh-huh.
And I've been learning that even for myself. Like, there were relationships to where I thought that I liked them, I thought that I loved them, but as time went on, I realized that like there it was things that was beneficial to me rather than just the emotional connection. But
Yeah.
I've also saw times to where I realized that a person didn't even like me. They just liked the thought of like what it might be to be with me, but there was no work done. So
Uh,
now that I'm older, I realize that like when I'm dealing with people, I want to make sure that like there's no necessary need to where like I invest in one area just to stay strong in that to show face and save face.
mhm.
But if for any reason we have to walk away, it's hard for me to walk away because I have so much of a clutch on this person. Like I have a what's the word I'm looking for? Not availability, but like just a attachment to them. I don't know the word right now, but basically the dependency. I have a dependency on this person to the point that like how I live, how my lifestyle is going to be is determining how this person and me goes on.
Yeah.
You don't have any self, you don't have any independence anymore. Like you wanted to go on that person, but that's all I got with that.
Very cool.
Anything you want to tell us out there?
Not really. I mean, do you have my information and all that stuff? If people want to contact me
Yeah,
and
let you say it on the air. I do have the information, but I
all
want them to
right.
hear it
All right.
if you
So,
want.
guys, if you're interested at all, the book is called The Universal Guide to a Healthy Selfish Relationship/Partnership. You can buy it anywhere that books are sold. It's not in the stores, but you can buy it through stores, Amazon, Book Locker. You might get a discount on Book Locker. I don't know if they're still doing that. That's my publishing company. You could reach me at my website is innerpowerinsights.com. That's innerpowerinsights.com. Or you can email directly to ray.innerpower@gmail.com.
Hmm.
So it's ray.innerpower@gmail.com. My Janet told me to say that slow because I talk too fast.
It's,
So
it's all good.
people get that.
For me, I enjoyed this conversation. I learned a great deal. I know someone out there is going to take this information and is going to help someone's
I
relationship.
hope so.
Um,
I love talking to
and
you. That was fun.
hey, we gonna continue these
All
conversations, and
right.
like I hope to have you up later in the future, and we could talk about some other healthy tools that could help
Hey,
someone. This
anytime
was a
at
great
all.
opportunity. I
Anytime.
So there you guys have it. We got Raymond in the building. You can
Yep.
find him at his email. You can also get the book. Make sure that you guys get into the book. I'm gonna get into the book, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely probably start it with my partner.
There you
See
go.
what's going on. Uh,
That's great.
and okay, so for me, make sure that like I'll definitely put your Instagram and any other social medias that you have so people connect to you on social media as well. So we got our partnership and life coach and author Raymond. Don't forget
Chris,
him. You're gonna see him
Chris, my
around.
my pleasure, pal. My pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll catch
Thank
you
you,
again.
and let's do this. So that concludes another episode of Let's Talk About It. So don't forget you can tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for new episodes and new shorts dropping on Instagram and Facebook. So you can follow me at Twist Johnson underscope. That's TWISTJOHNSON underscope. And you can follow the shorts on Instagram and Facebook. And the Facebook one is Talk About It. And the Instagram one is Let's underscope Talk 2025. Thank you, and that concludes this episode. I'll see y'all when I see you.